All right. It's live. It's officially live. I see the red light that's
Oh
dinging.
yeah, look at that.
Happy January 1st. Happy 2022. Happy New Year to everyone out there who celebrates. To everyone who doesn't celebrate the new year, happy Saturday.
It happened
Um
anyway.
it happened anyway. My name is Brian Brinkman. I'm an Osiris. I'm a producer here at Osiris Media, and I'm very happy to be joined once again for going on, I think, the ninth or 10th time with my friends Megan and Jonathan. First time in
I didn't know there'd be
2022.
math.
I I'm sorry, you only brought jokes. I brought math. But
Oh
first
no,
time
what did
here
I
in
bring?
2022. You brought facts. You got
Insight.
stories
There
and
you
facts.
go.
There we go. Insight, the critical insight. We are so excited to talk with you about. I don't know if it's the most unique fish show that's ever happened, but it's definitely up there with like only two other fish shows that have happened that were as unique as this. And that was December 31st, 2021, live from Rock Litiz in Lititz,
Lidditz.
Pennsylvania.
Not that second thing you said.
Not the second thing I said. Lidditz, Rock Lidditz from Lidditz, Pennsylvania. A very fascinating venue that the band played in the middle of Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk about all of this because it was quite different from what we anticipated, and it ended up becoming a really special and unique fish show. But
The ninth
Megan,
cube
Jonathan,
is free of geography and absent of all location.
and clearly
Yes.
absent of time because we entered 2022 in the ninth cube by my calculations 2 or 3 minutes after midnight. But who's counting?
Time
at
is an
this point?
illusion.
Definitely upset my daughters. They were like, "What is happening? It's already happened."
The kids here were like, no, here, Happy New Year's. I don't care what they say. And I was like, I've raised them right.
You will
Like,
wait until Trey
Yes.
plays Auld Lang Syne, and then you
Nonsense.
will go into 2022.
declare it whenever you
Um,
wish.
how are you guys doing here today? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Did you say it's Saturday?
It is apparently Saturday, yes.
It is the 40th Saturday in a row. No, I don't know. I can't keep track of days anymore. The holidays have really blurred it like doubly so. So doing okay. I guess it's a new year. It feels just like yesterday, except there's no fish show tonight.
This is true.
Yeah.
These are truths. These are facts as well. I thought Megan was just bringing the facts here today, but Jonathan brings in as well. Megan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like this has been a roller coaster of a week or two. I feel like I've spent the whole month just really anticipating these shows. And then finding out that we couldn't go is just, I'm still not over it, but appreciative of last night. And it was fun to kind of be together with the community and on Twitter and chatting with you and some other friends. And so I'm thankful for that for sure. And I'm excited to talk about the show. It was interesting.
Yeah, weird scene last night. Like there no security or cops anywhere. I couldn't
Not in
sell a
sight.
beer to save my life. I'd be like, "You want a beer?" And be like, "How much? $5." I'll just go get my own. Or, "Dad, I'm too young." Or, it was just really like it was tough. It was tough, but
Well, I flew
good
in,
vibe.
and so I didn't bring anything with me, and I was trying to buy just a little bit of grass, just to get me through the show. And everyone was like, "It's virtual grass," and I was like, "What the hell is that? What is going
What?
on here? What
That's
is
like
happening
vape
in
pens or something,
2022?"
right? I don't understand.
Yeah.
It was just like kind of close your eye. It was put on the meta glasses and just imagine that you are, engaging in a toke session. And I was
I
like,
thought we weren't. I thought we weren't calling out any sponsors here. That's just not. I don't think you're allowed to say that word anymore.
I did still have
Not
my
allowed to do
like
that at
pre-show
this point in
jitters
time.
though. I
No.
felt like I
Yeah.
was like excited and anxious and looking forward to it before the show started and like trying to get my fellow concert goers into it, but they were, not so into it. My husband's not really a fan, but he was a really good sport. And my kids wanted to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine instead. So I felt like, I was really on my own on the lot out there. Yeah, kind of like wandering around, looking for my crew, unable to find them.
Oh. we set up a puzzle. For just off to the side, so you could sit, puzzle, and watch.
Smart.
Kids were playing Grateful Dead Monopoly. I was blasting Jerry Band from the new 30th anniversary live Jerry Garcia Band record release thing, and that was good pre-show. Had some beers.
Pre-show vibes. That's really good
Nice.
pre-show vibes. Yeah.
And then
Nice.
then the girls were like, "Oh no, let's listen to Phoebe Bridgers." I was like, "It's 8:00. We got one side." So we listened to one
Yeah.
side of the Phoebe Bridgers record, which was awesome, actually. And then the Fish played.
That
So
makes
weird.
right.
They start right on time. So weird, right?
Yeah,
it was a bit strange, but that aspect of it where like you knew 8:30, 6:30 my time comes around and the show is starting.
Right. Not only did they
No.
start on time, but the set breaks were very
Quite
timely
short.
as well, which is like, I don't know who's running the show there, but
But they
I
are
mean,
on point.
It's amazing how off they were for New Year's. I assume they just wanted to complete everything's right. I'm getting ahead of ourselves, right? But
Yeah.
before they
Yeah.
did Old Lang Syne, but it's kind of wild that other than that, everything was just like click, click, click.
I know, it was weird. I was like, I really wanted to make myself a tequila soda, and I was like rushing because I was like, it's 8:26. I got to get this done.
We planned my son's
did it, though.
bedtime around first set break. And then Trey goes, "We'll be back in 10 minutes." And that was the first thing that ticked me off was I was
It's not
like,
15.
it's not 15.
Wait a
Why
minute.
would you say 10 unless it's actually 10? So we like scramble and we're brushing teeth, flossing, and getting water ready and getting him in his PJs.
Flossing
in
even
bed.
on New Year's Eve. Wow, you
Even-
are a rock star
Man,
parent, Brian.
that's a tight
Rock
ship.
star.
Good Lord. I was
We-
like, you guys need a beer? I mean, go get yourself a margarita.
We met in
Not offering
Montana. We
beers.
moved there to be dental floss tycoons, you know.
Ah.
We come from the lineage. No, we're like everything's like kind of, that chaotic 7 to 10 minutes before they're finally in bed and you read the story. It's like the weirdest period in time for young parenting. Like the entire house almost just explodes for like a 10-minute period in time. And then we're like moving our way towards the bedroom and he turns around and he goes, "I want both of you to put me down tonight." We're like, "Okay, fine." Like we got to be back before the show starts again. And we hear the like, and then immediately Sigma Oasis. There's no crowd. There's no walk on. And I was like, "All right, we've got one option here. We're pulling up the show on my phone in bed while we read about humpback whales." Done. There's supposed to be no phones or screens in bed, but it's New Year's Eve and Fish has decided to cut set break short. I mean, I was thinking about though, like the set break factor. You've got to imagine like the set breaks are kind of built in as this timed thing that the band does now, like in their normal shows. That is like both purposeful. It allows fans to take a deep breath, go buy some beer, go buy some merchandise, go buy some food, replenish, themselves, as well as fill the cash registers of whatever venue that they're playing in. None of that is happening here at this show. And so what are they going to do? They're just going to go backstage and kind of sit around and be like, what
Well,
did you think?
let's
What
not
did you think?
discount the fact that playing a rock show is a physical
Totally.
activity. These guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
working hard. Like I don't know if you guys play instruments or anything, but if you do, and anybody out there who does, please, chime in the comments. Trying to play upbeat music or even downbeat music for 90 minutes
90
or
minutes,
whatever,
yeah.
that will wear you out. I mean, why
no
do you
one
think
there,
Trey had to
too.
change shirts? It was not purely for fashion.
They had to change those outfits. They had to change those outfits. They looked so
But
good.
yeah, so they got to go back and realize. So I'm surprised, really, that they were like,
Yeah.
10 minutes, bing, bing. But
Yeah.
okay, cool, take it.
It was quick. But it was
Shoot.
it was good overall. The only thing I will add is I got an air fryer for Christmas and I made use of that in pre-show and set break snacks. I made chicken wings. I don't
Nice.
think I ever need to go out
Awesome.
to like a bar or a pub ever again because I made pub style chicken wings. Like we
Now you
had them
gotta
just
make
like
your own beer.
serving up. Now I just got to make my own beer and I've got to get multiple TVs in the living room, all things that my wife wants.
Oh my god! See, this is the problem. People, they're never going to leave their homes again. I hate this. We can talk about
Everything
this, but this
comes
is a
in.
problem of mine. I don't like this.
It's
I
fine.
want
You
life to be
know,
a little more inconvenient.
I can see outside right now. It doesn't look great.
No, I just shoveled for an hour and a half this morning. First time
Oh,
this
okay.
winter.
Oh, you got a big snow?
We got our first big snowfall of the winter, which you know, sending lots of love to just neighborhoods like just north of me that got blasted by the
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
Marshall Fire. We could not have gotten the snow at any. Well, I think we could have had a better time to have had the snow.
A little
December
earlier
30th, it would
would
have
have
been
been.
nice to
Mhm.
have had the snow on that day. Any time in the previous like 4 or 5 weeks, but this was the first big winter storm of the year. And I went outside and I did my routine of getting the car started, getting all the snow off there, turning on a podcast, and just zoning out. It's basically mowing the lawn, but for winter.
Well, it's 60 degrees here, but we've had half an inch of rain already. It was like
Whew,
buckets coming down a little while ago, and so a little different here in
a
Virginia.
little different. How is it up in New York for you, Megan?
I'm actually in Massachusetts right now. I'm in the Berkshires, and we've
Mass-
been in
the
a fog
Berkshires.
cloud. Yeah, we've been in
Right
like
on.
this dense fog cloud for like 2 days. It's supposed to be snowing here, but it's not because of climate change. So it's like just this drizzly,
Yep.
fog. But it's been beautiful. We had some nice snows over the holiday, so it's good.
I did see somebody comment or tweet last night how great it just realized how great it would be to have to be walking into MSG right now without a coat because
It's true. It's true. Those are the upsides
right
of climate
that's a
change.
that's a
Not having to worry
thing
about your
that
coat.
like somebody was like,
Yeah.
damn it, we almost had the dream.
Yes,
The
floor
one
with
New Year's Eve
no
run.
coats.
No
Oh,
coat
that makes
and
me
in New
sad.
York.
Oh God, now it's another reason why I'm sad. Great.
Well,
Uh,
we got to get to this show, but
Oh yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
talk about we got to talk about this one picture. You mentioned this pre-show, Brian. This guy
yes.
who set up the in his living room, he set up a rail
The rail rider.
with some draped his coats over it. There was a poster tube and a tarp laid down right in front of the TV. I
So
honestly
good.
don't know who it was. But it's amazing. Maybe Brian, you can find it with your internet
I'm gonna
ninja
I'm gonna try
skills.
to find it here while we're talking.
Yeah,
Like
he had like a bag of lemons and like he was sitting down like on
right,
his phone, like
like just
waiting.
like you do.
It's like you
Uh,
do.
20 minutes till showtime. Where's
Exactly.
everybody? I'm holding this spot and it's not going to
People are
last.
getting angry. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's just amazing. I
we
love
go.
this community for so many reasons. That's one of them. Have you got it? You want to show it to us?
I'm gonna share my screen here. Can we see that?
Yeah. Can you embiggen it? Come on. Let's see this.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
click
I'm
on
Embiggen
that.
it.
There,
Embiggen
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is out on 441 at Sulkirk, and he's hashtagged this new profile picture up to almost 700 likes. And one of my favorite people on Twitter, Drew Hits. This is funnier each time I see it, and I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he
yeah.
has the entire
It's got it nailed.
setup here.
He's got the trash bag with his coat.
Exactly.
Stuff
That's
hanging
like
out.
definitely
hanging
a move
over
on
the
There's a
floor.
couple over
railing.
the rail there too.
Yep.
The tube, like just even having the poster tube.
The poster tube, the
So
patch right
good.
down there,
It's
and
just
he's
so
on his
great.
phone because, like, what else are you gonna do at this point in time? You're just
Yeah.
gonna hang out on your phone. So yeah, this was
So good.
one of my favorite moments, like early on in the show, and or like early on before everything kind of got started, and really set the vibe for the overall evening that we were making do. We were truly making lemonade out of lemons. One note, I went out to lunch with my wife and son on the 30th, and we sit down. We're ordering pizza, and they ask us what we want to drink, and I asked what they have. They have Coke products. Okay, what kind of Coke products? They start going through it, and they finally said lemonade, and I go, you know what? I don't really order lemonade, and it's the middle of December. Why would I order lemonade? But I'm gonna go in the spirit of fish right now, and it was perfect. It was a perfect drink to go along with a really nice pepperoni pizza. But one thing I'll note as well, just about the vibe, you know, when we turned on the show, I turned the show on 30 minutes beforehand, as one does.
As
You
you do,
expect,
yeah.
As you do.
I was
Absolutely.
looking at these screens before while Phoebe Bridger played on the record player, and yeah,
well, and they had pre-show music, and they
Mhm.
had full breakdowns of all of the donors for the evening and all the volunteer organizations that you can volunteer, you can donate to. They had QR codes set up to specifically donate, as well as one to subscribe to Live Fish. And I just immediately, we're 2 years into this dinner and a movie thing, and 2 years, probably a year longer than any of us expected really to be in
Or
this, or
hoped.
maybe 6
Yeah,
months.
it's
Yeah.
depressing.
But I was thinking about it and I was like, this is just such a great thing that the band now has. And for a band that really only plays on average 40 shows a year, there's a ton of time throughout a year going forward that they could not necessarily put on a live show like this, but continue to dip into the archives. And
Mhm.
they added aesthetics to the show last night, pre-show as well as during the set breaks, that gave it this like small little feeling like it was a Fish show. And I really appreciated that. And I want to thank the band for adding that, because it was different than previous dinner and movies, but it added something to the dinner and movie experience that made you feel like you said, Megan, the pre-show jitters. You turn it on immediately, the set break music. Like I turned it at this volume that just you could hear it in the house, but you could hear
Yeah.
everyone's voices over it. I don't know. It was such a vibe. I loved it.
Nice. I just want to say I think the charitable aspect of the whole thing is really cool. I love, not only are they doing, Water Wheel, but they're also throwing it up to Mockingbird Foundation,
Yeah.
Free,
Mhm.
and a number of great organizations. But I like that they're including some of these fan-based organizations. I just think it's cool. It just highlights not only fans that are trying to do good and important things, but also that they recognize that their
Yeah.
fans are trying to do good and important things. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the
It's a
immense
communal
effort
feedback.
that the team put on to produce this. I mean, this was a pretty quick pivot, and I just think the incredible amount that they were able to do to make this look so professional and so intentional so quickly is just unbelievable. I mean, I've been watching the Beatles documentary, and I know you've both watched it, but the team seems just like so amateur that was working with them. And it's just so funny thinking about like how much they could have done if they had a more adept, flexible, and incredible team. I mean, I know it's hard to
They went
compare. Like,
into December
yeah,
planning this,
right,
as opposed
exactly.
to
Right.
this week,
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just unbelievable how fast they were able to pull this off and how professional it looked. And, I mean, shout out to Chris Kuroda again for setting up this unbelievable light setup in front of them that looked like an audience and gave this kind of vibrancy to what they were looking at, and also gave it amazing viewpoints when you went and looked at them from our perspective. And I think it's just so thoughtful and incredible. This team is just unbelievable what they can accomplish.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a really good point, and it's a good pivot into the show. And let's just talk really quickly about like the setup in the venue, because I think a lot of us had questions. Is this literally just going to be like the guys in the round? Like, is this going to feel like a rehearsal? It looked and felt like a Fish show, in a way that the Beacon Jams looked and felt like a Tab show, but almost more so. And I think that the addition of those LED lights in the crowd section, there was a moment during, I think it was the Disease Jam, when the camera was panning behind the band and looking out, and it was just like the lights kind of fluttering. And I'm
Mhm.
getting kind of chills thinking about it, because my initial thought was that looks like the lights over the crowd. And
Right.
for like a moment, the band is looking out and it doesn't look like they're playing to no one. It looks like they're playing to the crowd. And it's just the lights kind of going across this dancing audience. And that effect, I think, for the band probably impacted and made them feel more comfortable overall. But from a viewing standpoint, just added to the overall aesthetics and the enjoyment of it. It wasn't just guys playing in a room. It actually looked in moments like you were at a Fish show.
Yeah, it really did. And, I was definitely among those wondering if they would set up in the round or some other alternate sort of stage setup. But they were in Rock Lilith's. Rock Lilith's is a production, rehearsal, development sort of place. This is where
Mhm.
bands, all sorts of groups go to prepare their productions before they hit the road. And so it is designed to provide the things that you get when you perform in an arena. So everything from the the seal, the rigging, and some of the space, so you can have your big thrust stages or your flying drum kits or all of the things that Fish never does or almost never does. So yeah, it was an open question. Did they have a big thing like a New Year's show with, or maybe like Halloween with no guest performers or dancers or
Mhm.
anything, but were they going to have things moving around? And they did away with all of that, or they didn't have any of that scheduled. They just played. But I really like that, the lights, and I like the fact that when I first saw the things in the audience area, I thought they were static. I didn't realize they were
Hmm.
illuminated. I thought they were just light was shining on them, and then I
Yeah.
realized that they had patterns going on them. That's above and beyond. That
He's
was
a
really
Yeah.
cool.
visionary. I mean, he
Yeah.
just is. He's just a visionary.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, like, at what point were these like ideas presented? Because
Yeah.
at some point they probably had to decide, okay, we're going to do this like a Fish show. But
Hmm.
at what point are like, okay, we're going to have the light rig be the same light rig from this previous tour because it will look and feel
Or
like a Fish show from this year
whatever rig they had planned for
or
being
whatever. Yeah,
rented for MSG, they were like, okay, well, let's keep it flying here at Rock
Yeah.
Lily's, where we
right,
were just testing it, and go to town
right.
Yeah. They probably
But let's
just
add
left
this
it
one
all
other
there.
feature. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
instead of
That's a good
striking
point.
it over
Yeah.
Christmas or whatever they would have done. Should we talk about music?
Let's jump into the show.
Yes.
I mean, there was some.
So the band opens promptly. This is one of the very, very few times that the band has been prompt. Most Fish shows, anyone who has gone to Fish shows knows that ticket time is always 30 minutes ahead of when the band comes on stage, just part of the vibe of the entire show. But here the band comes on stage immediately at 8:30 p.m., maybe 8:31, 8:32. I don't know exactly, but like you saw in the first, second, and third set as those opened, especially the second set, that they were on stage and they were getting the like 3, 2, 1 cue. Now it's time to play, so that when the camera panned, they start playing the music. So we open not to the band walking on, not to like random crew members clapping. We open to very familiar funk grooves. I thought initially, and this was one of my speculations going into the show, was that they were just kind of jamming and that they were going to kind of jam
Hmm.
into it and kind of feel in their space. Very quickly, it became clear that they're playing MoMA dance, but it was a really cool way to enter the show. It felt, it kind of took away the jitters of like, hey, we're not playing for anyone, but they're just like grooving instead. What were your guys' thoughts as they kind of started with MoMA?
I was down with it. First of all, I was like, cool, MoMA. Oh, an edge piece, it's doing puzzles. And they, and it was just like as casual as I was, they were kind of that casual. They were just like, we're going to play MoMA. And they played a kind of straight ahead,
Yeah.
good version of MoMA. And then, it's like, okay, it's going to be a Fish show. There's just nobody in the room. Cool. That's pretty much how I felt about it. Megan?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I was excited. I love the Moment Dance, one of my all-time favorite songs. And I just felt like it's got to be hard to start that knowing that there's no one there. I feel like it takes a lot of humility to just play a show for no one and be kind of, entering the void. I was super curious as to whether they were going to be talking to the audience or not. And so I know that Trey really loves that. So I was not surprised when he got into the banter because I think he really enjoys reading comments and connecting like that, as he's such a communicator. But yeah, I thought they started out great. I thought the beginning, the first few songs were really fun and good energy. I feel like it's really hard to bring that kind of energy when you're not getting anything back. It's like you were saying, Jonathan, it's so exhausting to play music for a long time, but especially when no one's there to receive it and give it back to you. I imagine that's got to be really weird.
I think that definitely impacted the energy at first. It felt, I don't want to say it felt tentative. It just felt like they, okay, we play that song. Let's play another song. And they weren't bad or anything. I'm not knocking the performance, but it definitely, when they stopped playing, there was, and it was quiet, that had to be weird for them too.
So weird.
Um,
Yeah, it had to be.
It was,
I think especially the first
I was
3
surprised
songs, it
that they
was
took
Mhm.
comments at all. But I noticed
I
they
was
also
too.
took fewer of them
Thank
as they went
goodness.
Yeah.
on. And yeah. And then they, and the songs just kind of folded into one another a little bit more than in the first set, in the
Yeah.
later sets they did. So I think that was good.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
definitely.
when Trey, oh sorry, Brian, when Trey did that during the Beacon Jams, it was cool, but it definitely affects the flow of the show. And I feel like I was glad when they started just kind of playing more and being less stopping and chatting. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I definitely felt like as the show is going on, and we'll kind of get into this, but like I don't want this to come across as greedy, but it felt like there's all this there's all this production in place, and there's such a vibe that they have to get into for a very specific show. Like the Beacon Jams, you're right, by like weeks 2 and 3, it felt totally normal that Trey would play a couple songs and then talk to the audience. And he seemed to find a rhythm. And all right, we're going to take a break. And while I'm talking to the audience, we're breaking down this side of the stage and the strings are coming in. So it makes sense to kind of talk through this transition. It felt like this was the first show of this structure, and maybe by nights 2 or 3, if they had done multiple shows in this sort of fashion, they would have had a better feel for like, okay, this is when we should talk to the audience, let's play a couple songs and then take comments. They were kind of feeling that out early on, and I felt that like MoMA, Tube, and 46 Days were really good 3 songs to open because they're pretty easy, straight ahead funk rock songs that the band can find themselves in a groove. They're really great crowd pleasers. Like, who's going to complain about those 3 songs opening your show? Probably someone, I guess, but in reality, they're great songs to open a show with. And they allow the band to kind of fall into a groove and feel each other out and kind of get away those pre-show jitters, all while figuring out how to do a Fish show while talking to the audience, which they don't do.
Right. It was a little weird, but at the same time, it felt a little bit unlike the Beacon Jams where Trey was like, "Oh, look at this," and he would just talk to the camera.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Here, they talk to each other a lot more.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
he
I
did warm up
appreciated
to
that.
doing that in the Beacon Jams, but here it was really like immediately. And you see that page, and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit back and forth, and then Fish would start talking, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be talking," and they're like, "Oh, Fish is talking. This is bringing you in trouble now."
I know. I think a friend of mine texted during the show was like, "I think Fishman should stop talking." I was like, I know.
The
He's a
Fishman
risk.
For
Fishman
sure.
Betty White comment
Oh
was
my
Oh, okay.
gosh.
So, how shocking was that to watch that develop on his face?
I mean, he really
it,
didn't know.
well, it was
Right.
it made me realize like I texted someone immediately, this is great insight into like what a bubble they live in on a show day. Like, they're not
Yeah.
on Twitter, they're not getting like phone notifications,
Yeah.
they're doing sound check, they're mentally getting themselves prepared to play a concert for, in this case, there were 229,000 people that ultimately watched the show in and out, or 229,000 views, I guess I should say. But at the peak, there were 72,000 people watching consecutively, probably more because like that's takes into account one
That's
view in my
individual.
house, but there were multiple people watching, you know what I'm saying? But like seeing him actually be surprised and then get sad in real time was such an insight into the bubble that they have to live in, probably on show days, that they
Yeah.
didn't know what was going on in the world.
Or the bubble that John Fishman lives in all the
Yeah, I
time.
was gonna say Mike
Or
knew.
that too.
You
I
could.
feel
He was the only one who
Well,
didn't
Mike
know.
posts on
yeah.
Instagram. I'm sure that he
Right.
did a couple scrolls through and
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like John Fishman does not have he's not on social media. I feel like he's definitely someone who doesn't
He's on
strikes me as
Facebook.
not. Yeah,
But
that's true.
we got to talk about Time Turns Elastic.
Yeah, we
I'm gonna
have
we
to.
move this
do.
I
ahead
have
because
a lot of thoughts.
first of all, it's 11 years. Second of
10
all,
Crazy.
Trey,
24 2010.
what's the date?
10
What was the last?
24 2010 Amherst. It was 389 shows
It's
between
wild.
the last performance and last night.
And so they had to relearn it, right? They haven't played it in how long, and then, but Trey not only did he relearn it, but he learned it in standard tuning.
Yeah.
You may recall way back in the days of yore, he would have to change guitars because it was playing it in an open tuning. He composed it as such, and so he played it that way in all of the initial run, probably with the orchestra stuff, all of the everything else. And so they relearned it. Some slight modifications to the arrangement, I think.
A bit tighter, it felt like.
I liked it. I thought it was fine. Maybe
I
it
thought it was
finally
great.
got the rest it needed, and I did too. And we all came together and had a good time for a change. That sounded worse than I meant it. I thought it was good. What did
No,
you
but it
get?
was a very controversial song when it came out.
Oh yeah,
And I had two thoughts about this when it played last night. The first, notwithstanding, was oh my god, and my
yeah.
everyone that was watching it texted me, oh my god. Um, Number one, title wise, thematically, what a perfect song for the last 2 years. And I don't, I forget who it was that said it on Twitter when it was playing last night, but they were like, it took 11 years for Trey to actually be ahead of his time with this song. It actually feels like a relevant song now.
Even Paige said afterwards that it was
Oh, it
ahead of
was
its time.
Paige. Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah, it was ahead of its time. But the other thought I had was like, what a perfect setting for them to play this song where they don't have the pressure of, and who knows if this got to them in any sort of way, but it was a very controversial song within the community when it was played. I remember being at Fish shows where it would start and you would just see a like a mass migration
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
bathrooms and to the beer lines. And I always felt just awful about it.
A little
Um,
embarrassing to
a
see
little
that.
embarrassing, especially since so many fans had been like clamoring for a compositional piece. This was really the first big compositional piece since Gaiudi. You could count Pebbles and Marbles, but like this is really it. Maybe Spices, Discern, but like this
Sense.
is the true
Mhm.
sense. Yeah, this is the true one that's like thematic segment to segment and a peak that really like brings you back to the start of the song. Um, the last thing I'll say to all of this, because I loved the performance last night, this to me changed the dynamic of the show. It felt kind of herky jerky between MoMA, Tube, and 46 Days. And then when they played this, you could see Trey at the end go, and it felt like, okay, we got that off our shoulders. Let's get on with the show. And we feel better now.
Yeah, I think he was holding on to
Yeah.
that. Meg, let's hear from
Yeah,
you
I
on this.
agree. I mean, I think he was definitely chose this time to bring the song back, knowing that there wouldn't be an audience there. I mean, I think that was super intentional and really smart on his point. I don't love this song. I have PTSD from 2009, 2010, but this song just was always a set killer back then, and it just sucked the energy right out of the set. And
How many times did you see it?
enough times. I don't know offhand, but I definitely,
think I
my
have
first show
5
back in
performances,
2005. That's a lot. Yeah. I saw it in 2009. And I just remember it was my first show back in a long time. And I was just like, what is this? It's just really meandering, and it doesn't have anything for me to kind of like grab onto, I feel like. And I just find myself constantly like drifting off and having a hard time staying with it. I thought last night was the best performance ever of Time Turns Elastic for sure. But the text I was getting was like, I never thought they would play this again. I can't believe they're playing this.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a risk, and I think that I think it was smart to play it with no audience for sure.
Yeah, my friend Pat was known for falling asleep during the song in 2009, and so I wonder if he made it to midnight if they
Yeah,
played Time Turns
exactly.
Elastic so early. I will say that if in doubt, you can always just hang on to that one thing that I know I've mentioned on the show before, is that a submarine, by definition, goes beneath the water, not the ground.
Mm.
So
Ahead of his
otherwise, I
time.
don't
Ahead
have
of
a
his
problem with
time.
this song.
So we got
Marine
that,
means
and then
water.
and
Sorry.
then
But I agree, Brian, that when they came back
Fair.
after that, though, the show completely took off, I think, and
Yeah.
sound is just really, really great. I mean, this Ghost, I mean, the Free was great, but this Ghost is just awesome.
Well, yeah, they rip into the song that they seem to play when they feel this sensation, which is Free. They open Dick's 2018 with it after the curveball cancellation. It was like, okay, we're free to play another concert again. There's so many moments where this song is played and it feels like this, like, and just this celebration. And I felt immediately when they jumped into the jam, it just felt looser. It felt like it could have gone off in a million different directions. But yeah, then they went into the Ghost, and that to me was one of the overall highlights of the show for me. It got into a musical headspace that felt like anything was possible. They could go anywhere, and they were just completely communicating with each other with ease. And it was the first time in the night that it felt like improvisationally they were going in that direction.
Yeah, I thought Free really it thumped it. They really yeah, I think they kicked the doors open, and then by the time they were in Ghost, yeah, it was oh, this is the Fish band, and they didn't wind up doing any 40-minute jams or anything, but they were improvising, and it oh god, and then it just kind of slid nicely into Slave, and like,
Oh.
yeah, I'll
I
take
mean,
that.
first of all, we have to talk about Mike having like a drill he was playing
Yeah, he's
on his bass. Yeah, and he was just like, I mean, they were really beautiful. The end of that Ghost into Slave was like spaceship landing, cool synth stuff going on, and then this Slave is perfectly played. I mean, I don't
yeah.
think there's like a single missed note. It's beautiful.
Been using that drill on and off like for a while, and it was cool though to
So
really
cool to see
watch
it.
him walk forward. I
Mhm.
was like, what is Mike in his absolutely, by the way, worth mentioning, amazing jacket that he was wearing during that one? Like, he made everybody else look. I saw a tweet that said
Boss.
I saw a tweet somewhere that said he made everybody else look like a hobo
He did.
in that jacket. And
An expensive hobo
yeah,
trick.
and he stomped on his little box to pop the drill up, and I was like, man, in Ghost, he's going to the drill.
Totally.
And yeah, nice Slave, really nice.
Oh,
Very nice Slave.
really
And
beautiful.
one thing I noticed, so I saw two Slaves over the fall tour, both first set Slaves as well. And I just looked this up, and I think it's really interesting, weird Fish data point. So the last three Slaves, including last night, have been played in the first set. The last time that happened was 224 1988, 311 1988, and 620 1988, where the three
Wow.
Slaves were played in the first set consecutively. It's not a first set song usually. It's the song that you expect at the tail end of the second set after we've been through this journey, and then there's just like gorgeous
Mm,
A major chords come in,
It's
and
the
then
Harry
we go
Hood
into the
slot.
list.
yeah.
It's Slave and Hood fill that same slot of like, let's reflect on what this show was. And I love them inserting that vibe into the first set because it makes you reflective in a weird, it's what happened during the fall tour where everything felt distorted. You're not supposed to feel this 6 songs into the show, but we're going to make you feel it right now, and it's going to actually impact the way that you feel for the rest of the show. And doing that here, it felt like a callback to, a set list gimmick of the overall year, but it also, as you both have said elegantly, it fit perfectly where that Ghost was some 15 minutes in, and it felt really appropriate. I thought they were going to end the set there, and then I laughed, and I was so happy when they ended it with Cavern, because
Perfect.
Best set closer. Cavern. So fun.
amazing set closer, and also a song that really, it doesn't have any call and response from the audience, but it just feels like a song that you need a room full of people in, and there was nobody there, and it felt like the first song of the show that needs an audience but didn't have one, and somehow fit because it didn't have one.
It worked. It's a good rocker. Send us off to the bathroom lines. Oh, there were no lines. Not in my house.
Were there
Which I was
shower
kind of
lines,
sad
though?
about. I have to say,
You miss
like,
bathroom lines?
I miss the inconvenience of a Fish show. I don't want to go to a Fish show in my sweatpants. I want to get dressed up. I don't want to sit at home alone. I want to like see weird people. I want to have fun conversations. I want to have weird interactions. I want to like commune, enjoy together with other people and like get that energy. And I know that like there's so much talk about like how nice it is to be at home during
I'm
tour.
just
I'm
making
over
lemonade
that.
here.
I know we're trying to make lemonade. I'm just here to say, like, I want
That's good.
dirty, messy, smelly Fish tour.
You're
So,
not alone, I'm sure. In fact,
No.
we have a comment here, the most from No Man's Jam. Maybe Brian, you put it up. He was, I guess, had friends over, and
Yeah.
it was good to hug friends during Slave. Wasn't MSG, but beautiful. Yeah, I get that.
That's
That's
it.
so
Absolutely.
good. So
That's
true.
I'm glad you had some people with you. And so we run around for 10 minutes. Brian struggles to get a child to bed. And I did not shower during set
You didn't
break
shower?
last night. No, I was, getting all whooped out for the night. And in fact, I showered right before this, so I'd be fresh for you guys. Clean shirt,
We can tell.
clean beard,
It's
and
all good.
yeah,
New John, new year.
yeah, man. Got my Passion House coffee to kick me into pants, and
Same here.
we're ready to roll. So you do carry on? Do you
Let's
So
guys?
we
do
go into
it.
set
Set
2,
two.
and we open with every year seems to have a song. Like 2015 was the Blaze On year.
Mhm.
2017 or 2018 was the Mercury year. This year felt like the Sigma Oasis year. And I'm gonna come out with it. I am not on the they shouldn't be telling us to take off their masks. Like, it's a song lyric, man.
It's metaphorical.
Um,
It's not
it's
about
metaphorical.
literal.
I think the
Yeah.
song has incredible meaning, and I think it
Ugh.
absolutely rocks as a song. And I always wonder to myself, like, if there's ever a way for Fish to have a radio hit, to me, it is
Mhm.
FM rock stations playing the song, at like 2 o'clock and 3:30 and 5:15, like just throughout the day, and not tell anyone who they're playing. It just will fit the
Yeah.
vibe of like 70s FM rock. So I love this song. I
FM
saw a
radio can't
great
do
version.
metaphorical either, though. So
It's a good point.
True.
It's
This
a
is a
great
great
song, and
opener.
yeah,
Great
it's a great
set 2
opener.
opener. Perfect. This song too is so kind of with the pandemic to me. Like, when they
Yeah.
released this album, I listened to this album so much during the pandemic. So to me, this is like hearing them play this live is like it's like a gift after the pandemic. I love it. I think it was super smart.
it's a good song.
Totally. And then we go into
Can't-
Down with Disease.
Possibly my favorite jam of the night.
Oh,
This
so
Down with
good.
Disease. Everybody, including me, a little bit got like dejected when they started playing "Miss You." I love "Miss You." It wasn't about that song. It was about like the Disease jam.
And cutting the jam.
It got there. It was somewhere. It was nowhere all at the same time. Page was doing cool shit with his synthesizers,
Mhm.
and then Trey starts strumming those slow chords. And but what a cool jam! It's just they pushed it out, but at the same time, I feel like you mentioned Sigma Oasis is very much in and of the pandemic times. These 3 songs together, like, really kind of coupled as a little triumvirate that can suit these times as well.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about
Totally.
that. You're so right. Yeah, that
Disease.
jam is amazing. It's like relentless. Like Fishman is like I was like listening to it again this morning, isolating him. It's just his drive. He's just driving it. Like I don't even know how he's doing what he's doing. And then Trey starts like repeating the rhythm that he's playing on the guitar and gets like super dark and creepy. And yeah, I agree. I wanted it to keep going, but I love Miss You. And I think it's, always good to have a ballad after a nice jam. But yeah, there was a couple moments in the show that I felt like they could have just kept jamming, but
Sure.
Yeah, it brings up an interesting question. I was thinking about it as the report happened. I thought in some senses going into this, is the band going to approach this show as like a warts and all gig where we're just going to play some music, and because we're just in a room, they're going to kind of resort to almost a sound check vibe. They went with a let's put on a Fish show, and going with that model and like that approach gives us what we're all used to, but also takes away this important element, which is the crowd, and which is that kind of, if they get into that segment of Down with Disease and it's in Madison Square Garden, there's going to be a moment where the crowd responds with like, yeah, that.
Right. The
And then
feedback
it's
loop.
so true.
the feedback loop,
happening.
and that tends to like add another 4 or 5 minutes to a jam, because the band knows, okay, you're all paying attention, you're locked in with us, let's keep going. They don't get that here, and that is, I wonder in a sense, is at that moment Trey thinking, are we losing interest out in the interwebs? Should we just play another song right now? Like, do we go into a deeper jam? But then the other thing I was thinking was, you think about the first shows of a respective tour this year, Arkansas, Sacramento, and then this show, as a result of it being so isolated, there's always a sense of we've got to kick the rust off. We've got to get back into the groove. And so the first Fish show back tends to not feature a song that just goes. And last night I felt like even in the greatest moments of jamming, there was that kind of hesitancy because the familiarity of playing a show and being in that rhythm wasn't there. All that said, I loved This Disease and I'm right there with you guys. Miss You is one of my favorite ballads that the band has written in recent years and was absolutely beautiful at this moment.
So I think what you're saying, Brian, is that we are an important part of the jam and we keep the jam going. I love that.
Yeah, I think they know it
I
too.
like
You know,
that.
it's yeah.
That
It's,
was
Yeah.
that was something I felt a lot last night, and we'll
Yeah.
get into that when we get to the third set because I have a very
Mm.
specific moment where I had that thought. But yes, I definitely felt as though the element of the musicians and the crowd, it was very clear that like they recognize throughout the show they need the crowd as possibly more so than they even knew before.
well, and then
Um,
then Trey makes mention of the crowd as he leans into
yeah.
his microphone that nobody can hear him on except the band. It's
Right.
just they play "You Enjoy Myself," and knowing full well that it's because this is a tech rehearsal, everybody hears it, and
Yeah.
it's great. It was hilarious. Let's play "You Enjoy Myself." There's no need even for him to use that mic. They can just stand there and talk to each other because there's no noise, and yet so they play "You Enjoy Myself." And speaking of jams,
Oh,
like what?
the
First of all, it was good before the vocal jam. It was a good
Yeah.
"You Enjoy Myself."
beautiful version. Beautiful. Really
And then they
nice.
start a vocal jam and then play their instruments with it.
This is my
And
favorite moment of the show.
yeah, I queued up that jam a little while ago and right before I got in the shower. Excuse me. And it was awesome. It's so good. And the way it just slides into Frankie Says,
Yeah, I know. I've
that
never
damn.
seen that song live, and I was just like, oh, yeah.
That's why
I
I
feel like
texted you guys and says, does this count for stats?
I know. I feel like we kind of should, but not really. Yeah, no. I've never really been into the Yam vocal jam. It's not really my favorite part of the song. And last night I was like, I like the vocal jam now, like because Trey picked up his guitar and he started playing, and then Fishman came in, and then it was just off. It was so funky and groovy, and that is my favorite kind of jam, and I loved it, and I was so glad they went back into it. That was awesome. And yes, the landing was like it was perfect.
One of the things I've loved about 2021 Fish, and it kind of is represented in a number of other years I absolutely love, is the sense of anything, like any part of any song, any part of the show can turn into a jam. You hear it in 97, you hear it in 95, you hear it in 03, you hear it in 2021, you hear it in 94, where the band is playing and they should, if they want to keep a strict like rock schedule going, they should play the vocal jam and move on. But someone hears something and they play, the riff along with the vocal jam, and suddenly that turns into the jam. And there are so many examples throughout the 2021 performances this year of any song at any show where that happened. And it felt like similar to the Ghost and the Slave, a throwback to the year. We talked about this a couple weeks back. December 31st at their best always seemed like a look back and a look ahead at the same time. And this
Right.
show felt like a look back of 2021 of what made this year special. Part of that was this idea that at any point in the show, it is possible for us to extend this out into a jam. And we were all texting about it and we were all just like thrilled at that moment.
Alternatively, they could cut Mercury really short and play Possum.
So
I love your
That
theory.
happened.
However, right
You're
after
absolutely
that,
right.
they did the opposite.
Yeah, and
Always keeping us guessing.
Sons
this
of
was
bitches.
the one segment of the show because this was the one segment of the show where I felt as though the ideas of what songs we want to play got in the way of the music. Because they go into Frankie Says, which I'm guessing was unexpected, but they had just played it 2.5 months prior, so they probably remember it, and so why not? And I don't know if you guys recall this, but like as they're fading out of the Frankie Says song proper, they immediately modulate the same way they did in San Francisco. And you hear a song that could very easily go off into a 10, 11, 12-minute long jam. And instead, Trey kind of fades it out and looks at Fishman, and they go into Mercury, one of my favorite Fish songs ever. And then that, at the very end of the song segment, finds its way into Possum, which is Possum, fun, great.
It was great. It was good Possum.
Kind of like
It was
Cavern,
a
a
good
song that
Possum.
kind of needs glow sticks and needs like people in the room, but cool. We're
It
gonna
was
play
jamming. It was rocking. We were jumping around the house. We were not jumping. But we had a good time.
And then we close with A Life Beyond the Dream, which is similar to Miss You, a song that I think
Which
is
is
just
wonderful,
eternally
yeah.
gorgeous,
Gorgeous
beautiful,
song. Classic.
perfect, like encapsulation of where we are and where we could be going. But yeah, this segment of the second set, I felt like was the one part of the show where I was like, okay, we're trying to play songs here rather than letting the music speak for us.
Maybe, maybe that's what happened. I think overall it worked fine. It was a good Mercury until it
Yeah.
was over.
Mhm.
I saw some people who don't love Mercury say things like "best Mercury ever." So it's always somebody's going to be happy, I guess, most of the
Yeah.
time. And then what did they give us? 15 minutes.
About 15
I
minutes.
think so. I had some cereal, which is an awesome thing to have during set break.
I opened the champagne.
You're so classy.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
I pulled out
So-
some ice cream.
There you go.
I was like, it's 9 o'clock, 9:30 here. It's 11:30 on the East Coast. I'm gonna have a little bit of dessert, and they come on and they play Blaze On, which great
Cool.
little song. Love
Mhm.
Blaze On.
Love it.
Goes into like a cool little outro segment, which goes into What's the Use, which
Oh, I love this song so much.
The most silent
Oh.
of silence. Sorry,
Oh.
was it Magna Ball? You lose. You're no longer the quietest. What's the use?
Totally.
The only time we're ever going to get, aside from the Sicket version, a
Oh.
What's the
Right.
Use, that when they go down to complete silence, there is nobody talking.
Oh my God. It was
just
so beautiful.
magical.
I haven't
Beautiful
seen
Edith
that
Chomper.
song since 1999, and I
Oh my
want to see
God.
it live so bad. And I
Wow.
love that song so much. It's so beautiful.
Well, it's a shame this doesn't count for stats. You just told us.
No,
so
I
we
would have
gotta
had.
go.
Oh.
It's
Anyway.
it's such a great song in the sense that, like, I remember when they came back in 09, I think that they played it in Miami 09 in the Bust Out show, the 12/30/09 show. I believe that was when they played it. And then they played it scattered throughout 09 or throughout 11, 12. It didn't really come back until 15, like really come back. And it's such an interesting song
Just
that
like
like
Fish.
just like Fish.
Sorry.
Totally.
More on that later. No.
Yeah.
No, but the only thing I'll say is, like, I remember thinking when they came back with it, they're never going to get into that 99 space with this song. It's never going to sound atmospheric in the way that it did in 99 and 2000. And they figured out a way over the last 7 years to just integrate space and silence and weird little noises and atmospheric ideas that make this song. This has to be the golden period for What's the Use, which I don't think anybody would have predicted post 99, which is such a period defined by spacious playing.
I don't think anybody ever figured What's the Use was more than like a 1 or 2 off thing, like
Mhm.
Right.
a quadraphonic
Yeah.
toppling or whatever. It was
Sure.
just like they did it, but come on, they're not gonna. Why?
That's not
They're
a
not gonna play
song.
that.
Yeah.
It's barely a thing.
Well, and title wise, what a great song to play, as we've got
Yes.
about 10 minutes left in 2021. What's the
Yeah.
use? And then
I don't know, they
count
could
off
have done
into
a 20-some minute Blaze On and All
Right.
Lang Syne, but they didn't.
They didn't. They go into Everything's Right, which was I didn't measure the tempo, but it was, I think, the fastest Everything's Right ever. At
Yeah.
one point,
He was
Trey
like,
looked
did
at
you see
Mike
Trey?
It was great, man. It was grooving. They got the whole
was
song
grooving.
in there. Like, yeah, they had
Yeah.
to be a couple minutes late for Old Lang Syne, but they got like a full version of Everything's Right.
Do you think
And,
that's why they sped it up? Because Trey was like, are we going to have time for this? Yeah, I think
It
we'll have
could be.
time. I wonder if that's why. Then Trey was like, whoa, this is fast to sing.
Because
Yeah.
he was singing so high, you could hear him almost like
Yeah.
choking up. But
It's almost like they just sped the record up a little. Like,
Exactly.
This
That
yeah.
is great.
This was my favorite part of the show. The bookend, everything's right, Auld Lang Syne, everything's right. And the reason for it didn't hit me until they went back into it in early 2022. But it almost felt like, these are four guys. They're human beings. They cannot see into the future. They cannot, you know, they can take musical ideas and pass them out to the rest of us. But like there is something elevated about the four dudes in Fish. They're on a different level of consciousness, at least from my perspective. And it felt to me like Trey was in 2022 singing from 2021. Everything's all right and it's going to be all right next year. And it was this like bookend on either side of the year of like, guys, don't worry, we got through a really difficult 2020 without any of this. We got to enjoy this in some ways, although with higher risk levels in 2021. It's going to get better in 2022. I promise. You just got to get through it. Just hold tight. And it just felt like this great, like he was almost holding our hands, like pulling us into 2022, coming out of What's the Use,
Sure.
playing Everything's Right, Auld Lang Syne, and then back into the jam, which this jam was my favorite part of the overall
Oh,
show.
it's
It was,
beautiful.
it was beautiful.
It was a great jam. That's
It was,
right there for I said Downward Disease
yeah,
might be. This also might be my favorite jam from the night. It was it was really cool. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Good
well, and
vibe.
this was the moment where I texted you guys because I was just like, it's the beauty of this show when everything is like, when we get years beyond this, is that this show just reduced Fish to four guys in a room who like to play music together. And that
Yeah.
jam just had that, like, it was kind of up tempo, but it was still really mellow. But like it could have gone very easily into a bliss jam that peaked in like a soaring fashion, but it kind of didn't need to because, like, you got to imagine the band, as thrilled as they were to play a show, was a little bummed out that 20,000 people weren't around them celebrate. There was this subdued gratitude that I was just all about, and I felt it then, and I felt also like this is the sign of like we need the crowd here. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, this is all because these four dudes just like hanging out together and playing music.
Yeah,
I mean,
I go ahead, Meg.
no, go ahead, Jonathan.
I was just gonna say that, I don't know about, 2021, 20, all of these ideas. I can't discount them, of course, but I really feel like this song is really just about the moment. It's about
Yeah.
right now, we're playing this music, we're all together, even when we're not.
Yeah.
Everything's right now. You don't know what's coming. You don't know
Totally.
what's happened
Yeah.
happened. Right now, we have this sound that we're making, or that they're making, that we're enjoying, and here we are. And that's kind of how it felt to me. Is that, forward looking, back rear looking, is it happens, of course, but this is the moment. This is happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me emotional just to think about it because that song, I can't tell you how many times I listened to it during
Hanky.
the pandemic. Thank you. I listened to it during the pandemic so many times. Like I'd be taking a walk or a run and be listening to that song and be crying and just feeling like, it's going to be okay. Like, and yeah, like the world is turning and like it's crazy, but like, we've got each other, we've got this moment, we've got now. And I think that choosing that song to ring in the new year was super intentional and I agree, really thoughtful and just about appreciating whatever it is we have right now. I agree. And I thought it was beautiful, that jam. You said it so well, both of you, but it was just really heartwarming, I guess, to use kind of a cheesy word, but it made me feel so good. It was just really beautiful and a great moment and really just what I thought they should have done. I thought it was so smart to not do a gag and to just play a show and just kind of
Yeah.
play through and just play Auld Lang Syne and just, keep going. I thought that it would have been really contrived and
Would have been kind of weird.
weird, right? Yeah. And I didn't know if they were going to, but I think we're going to have something super cool happen in April. But I think that it was smart. Well
Yep.
played, Fish.
So we come out of that and we go into Twist, which was dedicated to a couple celebrating their 30th anniversary. which was great. It was kind of the return of, oh yeah, we're back at a fish show with no audience, and the band is calling out people on the internet, and everyone's hanging out, and people are celebrating. This turned into a really cool, dark, skronky type of jam. It kind of reached like Deer Creek Simple, Chula Vista Piper type of spaces of just like very weird kind of industrial type music before fading out into the return of,
Yeah,
Baby
wow.
Lemonade.
Wow. Talk about
Okay.
intentional.
It was, right? So like
Yes.
they pull something from the comments about the vacuum,
Just
but
perfect.
clearly there's
Yeah.
planning
Totally
happening
planned.
here,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
by the time Fishman gets he's wandering around, if somebody is like, Fish is exploring the space, like that was
That's
cool.
awesome.
Wait, there's a mic stand there for him? Okay. That's a setup. Which is fine. Set something up, why not? And
Yeah.
what a cool bust out. So I want to talk about this. There's a little discrepancy. Like
Please do.
fish.net in their notes
Yes.
are saying it's 1,300 shows, but if you actually look at the song history, it's over 1,400 shows. I have put in an official request for explanation from fish.net. Seth's
Good
working
job.
on it. We're going to find out. But either way, it's a whole shit ton of shows, and none of us has ever seen it before. Baby Lemonade.
And it's only been played
Sid
once.
Barrett. Twice.
I think. I mean, Fish.net said once in '92. Has it been?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh yeah,
311.92.
once. Yes. 311.92. No,
Yeah.
the twice. The second time, it's the one that is grayed out. Doesn't count for stats. So.
Because it was last night.
So it has been played. It was so long ago that the song. How long ago? So long ago this song was played that it did not have HYHU bookending it. It had Cold as Ice. This is back in '92
Wow.
when they were not playing Hold Your Head Up. They were playing Cold as Ice. I listened to the entire '92 tour a few years back, and I don't remember this song. Now, there's a lot of shows on that tour, but there's also a lot of repeats throughout that tour, and you would think that like those one-offs. But it was a great tribute to making lemonade out of lemons. And there was a moment I texted a few people like, Fishman on the Vacuum with no audience is kind of the breaking point between like, you can explain a lot of Fish to people and they'll kind of be like, oh, cool. Like I'll go to a show. But like explaining that the drummer who wears a dress is going to come out on stage and sing a parody Sid Barrett song and then play the vacuum cleaner is kind of like the line of like, you either have to want to get into this band or you're just sorry. I'm off at that point in time. And this is like that moment that was just for everyone who has spent too many hours listening to and discussing this band, because it's just one of those things you either get or you don't. You accept it in your rock show or you don't. This is for us.
Well,
It's for us.
here's where I will tell you that my 18-year-old daughter and her friend were here watching with me a lot of the time.
Yes.
And they were watching during this part, and they were, I think, a little baffled, but I heard at least one go, I'm not sure which of them, go, hey, cool. As they heard the vacuum noise and stuff, and they, they commented on all kinds of things throughout the show. And this morning, my daughter, whose name is Piper, has never been a big Fish fan, but said that she liked it.
Amazing.
She liked it.
Getting there. Almost got
Getting
her.
there. I mean, I feel like if you just beat it down into them, I feel like my kids are eventually going to have to like it because they know so much about it. And like, you just know so much about it. Like husband knows.
If that worked,
so
all
much,
my kids would be
right?
fans.
Exactly. So eventually I feel like someday like one of my kids is going to like fall in love with someone who likes Fish, and they're going to like have like all of this.
Oh, I've got all
knowledge
these
that they can
tapes
bring
and all
to the
this
table.
knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
Let me tell you about this band that you think you like.
Exactly. My husband's like, that's not going to happen, just so you know. But I'm convinced it is.
My son is 6 years old. His middle name is Piper, and like sometime over break, he called me out in the living room, and he had 4 of his stuffed animals set up, with one just slightly back behind, the second and fourth one.
Stop.
And he goes, "Look, it's Paige, Trey, John, and Mike." And I was like,
And a tear just like
Dude.
rolled down your face, right?
It
One
was
solitary
great.
tear. You're so proud.
I want to give a quick shout out here to Angel Depore. Shout out to Angel. Thank you for
Mm,
hanging with us and watching. It's not a dress, but a uniform. That is such a
you're
great way to
right.
put it. Is Fishman's uniform, and when he's not wearing that, he can't play drums. Who knows?
It's a
Although he did play
moo-moo.
really
Thank
good
you for
drums
that
throughout
clarification.
summer '97. But he then comes back up on stage, and he goes to the Marimba Luminas, and Trey is just
So awesome.
hanging out on the drums, and they start jamming HYHU.
Yeah.
Just
Do
like
it. Do it. It's so awesome.
That
I
felt
love that.
old fashioned. That felt
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
old school, kind of like when they started talking about pizza at one point, and I was like, "Oh, Mrs. Pizza
Mrs.
shit, say
Pizza
it." And Fish said it, and I was like, "Oh, yes, he remembers." And then he was like, "Where was that from?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"I
he's
can
like,
tell
where
you,
did that come from?
tracks." And yeah, that was a pretty deep cut in the banter there as well, almost as deep as Baby Lemonade. Maybe
Well,
deeper.
and this was like in contrast to the tail end of set 2. Like this felt to me like the show kind of is going off the rails, but it's going off the rails in the best kind of way
Yeah, in a
Yeah.
fishy
that you
way.
wanted a Fish show, where like it just feels like these are guys, just playing again at a bar, hoping that, like at Nectar's, oh, there's 2 more people that came in to grab beers. Let's keep those people in the show. What do we need to do to put eyes on the stage and plant them here? And then they're going to go and tell friends.
That's when they
it was-
play Iculus, and Trey starts singing straight to the guy.
Right.
No, not that guy. That guy. And
yeah.
I mean, I think that it just shows their commitment. Like it
Yeah.
takes a lot to be so committed and play so full-heartedly when no one's there for hours. It's like for hours they were playing, and I
at this
just
point,
it was
though,
so awesome.
they're really like I don't want to discount anything from before, but at this point they're really having fun and like
Yeah.
showing it, and just like they're relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost over anyways. They're having a good time. They need a name for somebody's kid.
Oh my gosh, that was so
We got
great.
a song for you. And it's a shame they'd already played Slave to the Traffic Light, right? And then the first Harry Hood since 7/25/96.
You got it.
Somebody wrote it last night. I didn't really pull that out of my head.
From Europe.
Without the Hood chant. And
Oh,
yay.
yes.
And it was great. It's good. Harry Hood to send us
That was a
out.
beautiful Harry Hood. Yeah, it was good.
It was one of those things. It was kind of like, the Time Turns Elastic bust out. It was like Baby Lemonade, which is a song that they probably were not going to be playing for the MSG run. There was
No.
that was not
No
going to
way.
happen. That is because of Lemons into Lemonade. Harry Hood without the Hood chant. That is a official stat that Yemblog tweeted out last night, that like, it's not on fish.net quite yet, but like we all know that's the
Not gonna
first
put it
time
there.
since July 96. And it's one of those things that in any normal Fish show, the Hood chant is going to happen because there's 20,000 people and there's no way to control 20,000 people to not chant unless you pass out flyers and say, just be quiet, but someone's going to. It's the only time that we're going to hear that song played in that sort of way.
I propose that when next time they play Hood, we not only do not chant, but we stand with our arms folded.
You heard it here
Same
first.
with
people.
Vultures. Same with Vultures. Do not woo at the end of Vultures.
Hey,
please.
and then look, you're going to confuse the message by putting too much on the flyer. One thing at a time. You can have
One
Vultures
flyer
on the
per
next
show.
tour.
And the Hood was great.
was
when they
great.
go into
Mhm.
my favorite moment at any Fish show that I go to is, the thank you, Mr. Hood. And it goes into the Bliss Jam, and no matter what light setup Kuroda has, it always turns purple and blue and green in the same sort of way. And you just kind of stand there and you're just immersed. And the camera did great work where they actually gave like a full head-on shot for that, so that when the lights hit, it hit the exact way that you want it to.
Mm.
And almost immediately Trey starts modulating the jam. And we're in that, like you said a couple minutes ago, we're in that comfortable space where the show's kind of going off the rails in this great way. And all that matters is just the guys continue to play music. And they figured out a way to give us kind of a modulated hood jam that then came back into a great hood peak. And that was it. That was the show.
Thank you,
They-
Springdon. There will be no encores. Let's
Also the right move.
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
they walk
an
off
encore is a
stage and then come
fan-oriented
back
thing.
out, and there's
Yeah, that would be
everybody. We're
weird.
just sitting in our living rooms and still quiet. That'd have been
Yeah.
that would have been super egomaniacal to just like, yes, they want us to play another song. Well, let's just play a song. Why do we got to walk off,
Yeah.
come back? That's why Jerry didn't play encores with Jerry Band.
Mm.
Show's over.
Show's over. And yeah, we got the camera pans away. We get the credits at that point in time, and we are waiting now for 4 months and 20 days for the next
Ugh.
Fish show, which you know, it's
Is
going to
it
be
4
great.
months and 19 days, maybe? Isn't it? Is the 20th the first
Again,
show?
with the math. What is up with that, people? Come on.
Perhaps it's 4 months and 90 days. It is the 20th. It's the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of April. Now, 2022. It will be this year. There will be a Fish
Yep.
show this year. Oh, wait. Hold on. There's Mexico
Wait,
before that.
Mexico.
Oh,
I'm getting
right,
way
right.
ahead of myself. The next
Mexico
Fish
doesn't
show
count.
is in Mexico. Doesn't count.
We just pretend
Next
it doesn't
Fish
count
show
if we can't go.
is in
Exactly.
2.5 months, where the band will be returning to Mexico for the first time since just before the pandemic. Those were the final
Mhm.
shows before the pandemic. Those were great shows. I'm really excited to hear this band play consecutive gigs
Mhm.
over 4 nights, and then just a couple months later, the weather will be a little bit nicer, a little bit warmer. People will be gathering in New York City. Hopefully the New York Knickerbockers have fallen out and have not made the playoffs, which follow me on a different podcast to talk about the realities of the Knicks making the playoffs versus not. But we've got 8 Fish shows to look forward to, presumably a summer tour to look forward to, assuming this Omicron spike is the spike that gets this whole thing out of our systems. And by summer 2022, we're in a place of happiness and fish shows and, drinking each other's beers again.
No, you cannot have any of my beer, but I will see you at an outdoor fish show, maybe.
Yes, we're going to manifest that. They're going to
You
have
know,
a robust
If
summer
you
tour. It's
hadn't
going to be amazing.
remembered Mexico, I just can't imagine what the comments on Twitter would have been. I personally would have been tearing you up. So it's good that you remember that.
So we got all that to look forward to. Final thoughts about this show, kind of as we've just broken it down. Megan, what are kind of your big takeaways of one of the most unique fish shows that have ever happened? What are kind of your final thoughts as we leave here?
Just again, appreciative for this band, for what they do for us and the community, and how amazing it is that we can always come together and find new jokes and new points of connection, and feeling really grateful for that. And I'm really hoping that I never have to watch them play an empty show again in my life.
Amen.
Yeah, that
Jonathan?
last point in particular, that's a good one. Although I really loved it. I thought it was great.
It was great.
If it was the lemonade, it was the best lemonade ever. Yeah, I think that it was a lot of fun. I will continue to revisit this show, and I think that they had a good time. And if nothing else, they know that it's possible. I tweeted this last night. The Deadcast, the official Grateful Dead podcast, not the Broke Down podcast. They did a show on Infrared Roses, which was the last Grateful Dead album, and there was some interview content in there from Jerry, And one of the things that they were talking about was virtual reality and how the band had, gotten some demonstrations on it. And Jerry was talking about how, the future of Grateful Dead concerts probably would be in cyberspace or virtual reality. And they had no idea what the shape the internet would take in the future. But then here it was a few days later, after hearing this, watching a Fish concert that existed entirely on the web, space radio, like
Weird.
and really not in any personal reality except for the band, the the film crew, and Patrick Jordan, and that was it.
Mhm.
This we're there. The future is here. We are it, and there it is. That's I'm trying not to quote Throwing Stones any further. Brian, your takeaways?
Yeah, I think if there's anything good that's come out of the last 2 years, it's that we've gone through this kind of shock experience that has led a lot of people to adaptability. And I think, the way the band could have just disappeared like a lot of things over the last 2 years and just said, "Hey, we'll be back." There's a lot of bands that have not played a show since 2019. A lot of big
Mhm.
arena bands, a lot of big stadium touring bands that have
A lot
just
of
said it.
small groups too.
A lot of small groups too, you're absolutely right. And Fish has figured out a way to stay ever present and to evolve with what's happening. Be it the Dinner and a Movie series that for the first 6 months was just this essential Tuesday night experience of let's all gather together virtually and keep going to the next week. And the Sigma Oasis release. Let's do a release together. And these songs are now going to, like you said, Megan, these are going to be a part of the next year of your life until we can be together again. Um, even when the band recognized, like, okay, the pandemic's shifting, we can't do this on a weekly basis, but we're going to keep doing this each month. And we're going to
Mhm.
celebrate Halloween. We're going to celebrate Hampton 97. We're going to celebrate New Year's 95. And they kept kind of marching along. We're going to celebrate the Island Tour. We're going to celebrate Townsend Family Park from 1991 of all
So
shows.
great.
That was awesome.
So great. To them coming back and playing this just incredible 2-month stretch of music. And then you include Trey Band in there, where the band shows a physical and emotional adaptability in the face of this unprecedented Delta wave, in the face of so many risk factors that many of us will never be aware of, those conversations behind the scenes of
Mhm.
how do they keep the show going on. The politics of what came out of the Vegas run, and should it have happened, should it have not happened, that probably helped to inform the decision that they decided to postpone the MSG run. All of these things that they have kept themselves within our conversation and kept evolving with what's happening. Last night was just a perfect capstone of that. I hope that the jitters of, okay, we can do this, are now out of them, because they could now theoretically do this. I hope that we don't see a virtual Fish show in the face, or in the place of a Fish show again.
Yeah, that's
But
what I
it's a
don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like, if it's a Fish date, let's play a Fish show type of thing. But it kind of showcased it broke down this wall between the band and the audience in a very cool way. And with their mastering of technology, with their mastering of social media and marketing, you could see an opportunity over the next decade for them to show perhaps glimpses of rehearsals, of sound checks in this sort of fashion that could add a new dimension to how we interpret and understand this band. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe this was a one-off thing, but it seemed like another step forward with them understanding the adaptability and the opportunity of what this whole experience has allowed.
Yay, Fish. Also, I just want to say I'm really pissed that they didn't play Thread or Leaves. No, I'm not pissed, but it would have been nice. I can't wait to
Well,
hear
that's
those
our
songs.
last segment.
Yeah.
What are you angry at the band for not? No, I'm.
They didn't invite me. I would have social distanced. I got a supply of KN95s. I got to totally MC the thing. Next time they should hire us to do that.
They misplaced that for
oh,
sure.
well.
They did. They did. No, in
It's
all
wonderful.
reality,
It's so
thank
great.
you. Thank you, Fish. Thank you, everyone who was associated. You did not have to do this, and the fact that you did definitely added to an enjoyment of the countdown of what I thought was a slightly better year than 2020, but still a year with challenges. And we don't really know what's coming down the corner. We don't know what's happening here as we move into 2022. It's all unknowns right now, baby. But we do know this: Fish, when they get together and they play music, it's a very special thing, and we all respond to it. So thank you to the band, to the crew, to the people at Rocklets, everyone associated with this event. Thank you so much. What a great way to say goodbye to 2021 and say hello to the unknown of 2022.
Fish is a really cool band, you guys.
Yeah, I
You
really
should
like
check 'em out.
them.
Thanks everyone for listening. We hope to be back here in 2022 to continue deep diving and breaking down the world of fish in a multitude of ways. We'll have more information about all this here in the coming days and weeks, but we would love to be back to talk about this crazy band that clearly we can just spend hours and hours and hours analyzing and picking over and gushing about. But with that, we are going to sign off here. My name is Brian Brinkman, and it's been a pleasure to host HFPod here over the last couple of months. And happy 2022 to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.